Shalom everyone, and this week we are studying Parashat VaEra. You can find Parashat VaEra in the book of Exodus, chapter 6, verse 2. Vaydaber Elohim el Moshe, and Elohim spoke to Moshe. Vayomer elav, and he says to him, Ani Hashem, I am Youdkevitch. VaEra el Avraham el Yitzchak vel Yaakov bekel Shaddai. And I've been revealing myself to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob with the name El Shaddai. Ushmi Hashem, but my name, Youdkevitch, the Tetragrammaton, Lo nodati lahem, I have not been known to them by that name. Okay, so whoever was here or listened last week's parasha can understand somehow the direction of what I just read. If not, it's a big mix-up. If you don't know Kabbalah, it's like what I was just reading. Like, who is talking here? Elohim says that he is Youdkevitch, and he says Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they knew this name, but they didn't know that name. It's all about the name, and therefore we said the whole book is called in Hebrew Sefer Shemot, the book of names. Which names? The names of the Creator. Why do I need to know his names? That's very important. Now, in order to understand, again, I found a text written by Rabbi Ashlag, the founder of the modern Kabbalah movement, about the secret of those weeks that we are reading, the parashot that are called ShOVaVYM, ShOVaVYM Tat. It's the 8 weeks that we're reading about the Exodus. So Rabbi Ashlag says as follows, עניין גלות מצרים משמעותו שיעבוד הקליפה אל הקדושה. What's the consciousness or what's the meaning? What's the issue of the exile in Egypt? Why do we need to repeatedly read about a story of a nation in slavery so many years ago, some almost 4,000 years ago? Why is it important? And he answers, it's all about the slavery of the holiness to the dark side. That's the story. Now, the slavery of the holiness to the dark side, that's an issue, that's a business of each one of us every day of our lives, because if we do not fix that, we do not deal with that, our life is in a mess. That's the cause of every blockage, problem, pain, misery, agony that we humans experience. Ve'ilo inyan hageulah, and the issue of redemption, hu hashavat hayotzer al kano. What is redemption? To bring everything to its place. Because the normal place of every creature is freedom from negativity, which means that the flow of light of the creation and the Creator is not being disturbed and not being blocked by anything. Okay, that's the whole story. בבחינת וראו כל עמי הארץ, כי שם השם נקרא עליך ויראו ממך. And this is like the verse in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 10, and all the nations of the earth will see that the name of God is upon you, and they have awe, which means when all the nations of the earth will see how the name of God is being revealed in this world, we have no problem anymore, no more wars, no more cheating, no more robbery, no more crime, no more anything that creates agony in this world, from diseases till misbehavior of every human being. That does not exist anymore. And that is being expressed when all the nations of the earth will see the glory of God. And we have to understand that the Holy Torah is eternal. גלות וגאולה נוהגים בכל הדורות, and every generation we have the issue of exile and redemption playing, because what are we doing here on earth? Why did we come into a body? We come into a body in order to achieve redemption. And that means that doesn't mean that you must achieve complete redemption in your lifetime, but at least make some steps that by the end of your life, you can realize, or by the end of every year, that this year you are more free than you've been before. Free of what? Of the darkness, of negativity. בגלות וגאולה, נוהגים בכל הדורות, so exile and redemption, there are issues in every generation, to every person, in all the times, בכלל ובפרט, in general and in particular. כי כל פרט ופרט מישראל חשוב לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא, כמו הכלל כולו, because every single person is important, like the whole congregation. Okay? ועל כן לא יגיע אדם למטרתו, טרם שברו עליו כל הדרכים, והארת השמות שבתורה. And therefore, a person will not achieve his or her goal before they went through all the journey, all the steps that means the illumination of the names of the Torah. Listen again carefully. Rabbi Ashlag makes a connection between something that whoever has something to do with faith, with godliness, with holiness, can understand what I just said. You know, every human being must take the journey. And during this journey, every human being must go through the steps to achieve freedom. And those steps are being described, summarized in the story of the Exodus. But then Rabbi Ashlag says, but there's another way we can describe it. That means to experience the illuminations of the names of God that are in the Torah, which means redemption and the illumination of the names by the right order. It's the same thing, which means every name is another experience, it's another level, it's another frequency, it's another aspect of a human being experiencing his or her life. And if you want to make through the journey of achieving true freedom, what does it mean? Why do I need true freedom? Why? Because, as I said again, every aspect of agony that we go through is because of our lack of freedom, which means the moment someone subjugates our ability to feel happy, free, and full of joy, that moment it means that I am in slavery. I am enslaved. And that means that I cannot connect through the law of affinity to the Creator. The Creator is the source of everything. He is the one of power. He is free because no one can subjugate him. As long as we are away from him, we have a problem in achieving the fulfillment we are all looking for. So it does not matter if it's a health issue, if it's a financial issue, it's a relationship problem, it's a political issue, social issue, whatever. All of these, they are a result of a lack of freedom, which means galut and geula, the redemption and exile. This is the name of our lives. We don't see that. We will never be able to understand what does it mean to have a career? What does it mean to mature, to grow up, to become a better person? What does it mean to achieve my goals in life? It's all about it's all revolving around this concept. Now, בסידור הפרשיות שבתורה, the order of the parashot in the Torah, the parashot are the parts of the Torah that we read every week. יש בהם קדושה רבה. There's a huge holiness in that. וסגולה גדולה, and it's a very powerful catalyst to help us to achieve our life goals. Okay? לכל פרט ופרט, every individual can enjoy and get profit from that. מסדר המאורות המאירים בזמן הקריאה, from these lights that shine according to the order of the readings of the Torah yearly. ומתוך ששובבים תת הם סידור שלהם, and since the order of the readings from Parashat Shemot that we read last week till the end of Tetzaveh, הם סידור שלהם, it's a very complete sequence, order of revelation of lights, the revelation of levels of awareness that a human being must go through in order to achieve his or her goals. מתחילת השביה והשיבוט, from the beginning of the slavery של קליפת פרעה, under the קליפה, the negative force that is called פרעה, Pharaoh, and Mitzrayim, Egypt. These are names of spiritual forces that each one of them symbolize internal force in each one of us. Okay? עד תכלית החופש, till the completion of redemption and freedom, which is the receiving of the second tablets. על כן מסוגלים המה להאיר עם כל מערכת הקדושה והאורות. Therefore, the readings of these parashot, these weeks, starting last week for the coming 8 weeks, okay, there is a cosmic revelation of light that we achieve by those readings and the study of this parashot, that they have the ability, the power, okay, to shine and illuminate עם כל מערכת הקדושה והאורות, with all the system of holiness and the lights of the holy system, שכבר הראו פעולתם בדורות שעברו, לאלה מוכנים לקבל. And they already showed their actions to whoever is ready to receive those lights. ועל כן מתענים עובדי השם יתברך ועושים תשובה כדי לזכות בהם. So whoever see himself as a person of spirituality, a person of complete conviction, loyalty, and how we call it, loyalty and connection to the to that goal of every human being. During these weeks, this is a time for all kinds of procedures of cleansing and through fasting, studying, all kinds of procedures in order to elevate, take those lights that are being revealed in order for us to have a fast course of spiritual growth, achieving freedom during those days of those 8 weeks. Okay, so that's the secret of the ShOVaVYM, according to Rabbi Ashlag. Now, let us go back to what does that mean. And I just want to remind something as we just read, where it says, to those who are ready to receive. What about those who are not ready to receive? Because those 8 weeks are so intense with such a powerful revelation of light, the point is like this. You know, whoever listened to the class about the Kabbalistic insights into the Corona, and I'm quoting over there from the Talmud, Tractate Sanhedrin, that expression that in the Talmud saying that these days that we are going through are on one hand are amazing with so much light, so much hope for some kind of people, and other kind of people, it's going to be very painful. Why? And the Zohar, the Talmud gave an example comparing a bat and a rooster in the middle of the night waiting for dawn. Finally, the rooster is asking the bat, what are you waiting for you? Because for you, this is not light, this is darkness, which means a lot of people that are consider themselves religious and people that do not consider themselves anything, okay? They're waiting for something better to happen. You know, people have hope, you know, will vote differently, my party will come into power, will change the government, things are going to be better, okay? The question is, are you really committing yourself for self-inner transformation? Are you really siding with holiness or with impurity? How do I know? The answer is very simple. Rabbi Ashlag taught us a very simple rule, which means as long as you're committed to your own desires and whims in order to get as much as you can by giving as minimum as possible, which means you define yourself as a person that is self-focused, individualist, narcissist, and it's all about how do I get as much pleasure as possible by giving as minimum as possible, you belong to the bad world. The bad world, those who sit in the darkness, they think they're waiting for a better world, but every improvement is going to be painful for you. And therefore, when we read Parashat VaEra, and in Parashat VaEra, there are 7 of the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues were horrible plagues that inflicted Egypt of that time. Whoever sided himself with that frequency that is called Pharaoh and Egypt, again, in Hebrew, the word for Egypt is Mitzrayim, the narrow place, the body. The body is a dungeon for the soul, okay? Whoever sided himself with that frequency that is called Egypt, or that frequency that is called Pharaoh, in Hebrew, the word Paro, Pharaoh, is the same letters of Pera, evil mouth, Haoref, the neck, hard neck, also Hafra'ah, disturbance, okay? So Pharaoh and Egypt in the story, they symbolize those frequency of negativity, darkness, selfishness, the opposite of the godly forces inside each one of us or inside our society. The moment you side with those frequency, whatever changes there are, whatever revolutions there are, whatever positivity is being revealed for you, you will experience it as a plague. And by the way, let's say I identify myself with the holy side. Yeah, I choose every day to identify myself with the holy side. Can I say, truthfully, that I'm so already in a place that I'm totally free of selfishness? That I transformed all my desires to the frequency of desire to receive for the sake of sharing, which means I have a lot of aspects of my nature that they are associated with Egypt and Pharaoh and not with the holy system. And therefore, for a lot of people, those 8 weeks of the ShOVaVYM, they're terrible weeks. Because if you side yourself, or whatever aspect in our consciousness that we side with selfishness, that's going to be plagued during these weeks. Because what is light for the rooster, sunrise, is tremendous pain for the bat. because some bats are almost blind. Some of them, they see very well at night, but they can't stand sunlight. So whenever it's sunlight, for them, it's a curse. It's terribly painful. Okay, so yeah, when you say, oh, this is amazing, weeks, everything should be so easy. No, it's not going to be that easy, because whatever part of us that is siding with Egypt is going to be plagued. And by the way, without that, there's no spiritual growth. So what happens? In order to understand the next stage is we understand that Parashat Shemot, if we read the whole parasha, whoever read the whole parasha, something very important is happening over there. Moses is being told to reveal himself to the Israelites, to leave Sinai, to go to Egypt, tell the Israelites that God sent him as a messenger of hope, and to tell them, I'm going to Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go. Okay? So he goes, he shows the miracles, and they get really excited. Finally, we're going to be redeemed. We won't be in such a place of this abuse that we go through by the Egyptians. So Moses and Aaron are going to Pharaoh. They tell him, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, oh, you guys want freedom. If you want freedom, it means you're not working hard enough. So he makes it even worse for them. Every year, I have to repeat this concept. Whenever someone has a commitment for redemption, for growth, for expansion on the positive side, he needs to understand that that's not going to be easy. There's a price tag. Everybody knows that, let's say, an example that I repeat many times. Everybody knows it. Somebody smokes few packets of cigarettes every day. And then the person decides, since smoking is prohibited by Jewish law. Why? Because the moment all the doctors are saying that that's dangerous for your life, you have to obey the doctors and you have to quit smoking. What are you doing to yourself? You're not allowed to endanger your life knowingly, okay? So you quit smoking. The next day, you feel amazing, right? Wrong. Days after smoking, for years, there is a withdrawal. The withdrawal period is painful. You get terribly sick. Okay, your lungs are cleansing and so on. All of this dirt has to come out. And that means it's excruciating pain. Why? But I wanted to do something good. I realized smoking is terrible. Any time that you start a fight against anything negative inside yourself, there's going to be a reaction. Why? Because your body is like, hello, I was the boss till now. What does it mean you want to be free? What is your body? Pharaoh, Egypt. You're my slave. Oh, we're not going to change stance. I'm not going to become your slave. The body is saying, I was your boss all your life. Whenever you wanted something, which means whenever you had a whim, a desire, a passion for something selfish, materialistic, you just did it. The body says, I was the boss. The soul was a slave. The moment you want to change the job, the body is fighting back. So by the end of Parashat Shemot, everything becomes much worse. Okay, what happens when everything becomes much worse? You're trying to have complaints to God. God, I wanted to be righteous. I wanted to be holy. I wanted to be a positive person. Why is it that I'm going through so much pain while my neighbors and my friends that are so selfish, they're so negative, they're still smoking, whatever, and they have a nice, easy life? You know what I'm saying? You never had those thoughts in your mind? Okay? And you start to react. And when you react even against God. It's like, God, that's my reward. You know, I made a step. I made a decision. I moved up the scale. I really committed to be your servant, to follow your rules, and that's what I get. Everything becomes so complicated. Stuff is so upsetting. That's how you do. That's how it happens. You want, you know, what they say, life is like riding bicycles. If everything is easy, it means you're going down the hill. Okay, is that clear? Which means you want to achieve something, no free lunches. So you want to achieve redemption, you must go against Egypt. You must go against the dark world. You must go against the dark emperor, Pharaoh. And all of them are inside yourself. And that means they're not going to let go that easily just because he said, oh, I want to be so righteous. I want to be such a great, positive human being. You know, freedom is not being given. Freedom has to be fought for. Okay? Everybody who learned history knows that. You cannot achieve freedom for free. You just go to the bad guys sitting in the government, the tyrants, the dictators say, oh, that's not nice what you're doing. Please give us freedom. It's not nice. They say, oh, you want freedom? Of course. Here you have freedom. Is that the way it happens? It doesn't happen in politics. It doesn't happen in a company that you work for somebody who's a tyrant and a dictator. And it doesn't happen inside your body. That's how the rules work. You want to be free, you have to go through the drill. You have to go through the steps. And during the steps, you need to learn how to discern between who is Pharaoh, who is Egypt, inside yourself, and who is the soul, who is the Israelites, because we all made of a complex of both forces. So, at the end of Parashat Shemot, you have something very natural. Moses goes to Pharaoh, says, let my people go. And Pharaoh does not react, oh, Moses, you're so right. Of course, tomorrow morning, I'll pay the journey. It's okay on me. No, it doesn't happen. You know, have you seen something like this happening anywhere around the world? No, it doesn't happen this way. Oh, it's becoming worse. Then they come to Moses, the Israelites. And that's the end of Parashat Shemot. Shemot chapter 5, verse 20. ויפגעו את משה ואהרון, and the leaders of the Israelites, they meet Moses and Aaron. Okay, ויאמרו להם, verse 21. ויאמרו להם, ירא אדוני עליכם. God will punish you. אשר יבשתם את ריחנו בני פרעה. Now, because of you, Pharaoh hates us. Like he loved you before. You know, you can see it all around. It's like you think, you know what? If we are going to, if you learn some history of the last century, 2 centuries, especially the last century, okay? If we are going to give the Nazis what they want, let them take Czechoslovakia. They leave us alone. They love us now because we gave them what they wanted. No, bad guys, if you give them what they wanted, they get more hungry. Now they hate us because we said no. You know, when we have an abusive boss, an abusive family member, and you just give him everything, and now because of that, he will love you, which means he will be nice to you. No, you make him more hungry for power. It will never end till you say no. Okay? It's called the Stockholm Syndrome. That you see a lot of people saying, let's be nice to the tyrants and the dictators and to the terrorists. And if we love them, they will love us back. It doesn't work this way. Okay? No, it doesn't. So who do they blame? Moses. Who do we blame? Oh, you wanted to be spiritual? You see what happens. Suddenly you get all of these troubles. It was much better before you wanted to be spiritual. You know, you look around. These people who are negative, materialistic, whatever, they're not bothered by anything. They live a normal, easy life. It's a lie, but it's easy to tell lies, okay? Because truth, you need to commit to. And lies, you tell them in order to just simply cover up for your own lies. Now you're going to give a reason for Pharaoh to kill us. Oh, what he was doing before. That was not an attempt for a genocide. You read the Torah, it's like Pharaoh wanted a genocide. That was what it is. Okay, now, yeah, Moses is now upset. So we continue to read verse 22. Vayashov Moshe el Hashem. Moses came back to God. Vayomar Adonai is using the name Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, which is the name of judgment, like severe judgment. Lama re'ot ha'am hazeh, which means, what does it have to show? In the moment that we go through hardship and pain, we have the tendency to blame God for that. God, what are you doing to me? Right? That's what Moses is doing. Remember, this is not a history book. Although some people try to analyze it as a history book. The Torah is not a history book. It's a guidebook for us now. What do I do in order to get the best out of my life? So that's our reaction. Moses is our reaction. And he relates to God, not as Youdkevitch, but as Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, which is the name, and that's normal, that when you go through pain and agony, just because you tried, you made your first steps of redemption, you quit smoking, you quit eating garbage or junk food and stuff like this, and now you're sick as a dog, okay? And now what's your immediate reaction? You blame God. That's my reward. That's so normal. It happens to each one of us, right? Lama re'ot ha'am hazeh. Why you hurt us? Why are you hurting these people? Lama zeh shlachtani. Why did you send me in the first place? Can you see that it is in yourself? If you don't see it inside yourself, you have a problem. These weeks are not going to be that easy. Since I came to Pharaoh, says Moses, to speak in your behalf, it became even worse, because that's the way it goes. Okay? So God is telling Moses patiently, you'll see what will happen to them. I will send them out of Egypt beyad chazaka, with a strong hand. Okay. And then this parasha is starting. And that's amazing how it starts. I'm not going to go into the 7 of the 10 plagues, but if you go to the Rabbi Isaac Luria, to the Arizal's readings about the Passover Haggadah, he doesn't look at the plagues, oh, this is blood. You know, that's very materialistic. The Nile became into blood. Oh, the Egyptians suffered so much. Okay? And there was a plague like this, and plague. There's a whole list of plagues. And the Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal, is teaching us that each plague was basically a frequency of light coming in to remove one level of negativity. How many plagues altogether? 10. Why 10? Oh, we have 10 sfirot. What a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. So the sages are teaching us, when the world is being created, there are 10 times in Genesis, and God said, does he have a mouth? Was there air? And who was there to listen? So if you're into quantum physics and the law of uncertainty, doesn't make sense, okay? Saying in Hebrew, a saying also in English, a statement. You don't have to say, okay? Giving somebody a present, it's a statement. You're an artist. Your art is a statement. You don't need to speak in order to show a statement. So a statement means you want to deliver something, a feeling, a power. 10 times it says God said. That means that God injected to this universe 10 injections of light of life. Those 10 injections are the base of every bit of energy, every creature, atom, frequency, particle in this universe is living on. However, when Adam was created, he sinned. And human beings since that moment were creating more and more darkness. And that darkness blocked the flow of these 10 lights. The whole 10 plagues was basically, says the Arizal, injections of light, injections of frequencies to negate, transform, and remove those 10 layers of darkness that suppressed the light of the creation. So each plague is another level. We read the plagues in order to remove inside us, and now each plague is another removal of another layer of negativity that blocks the power of life, of freedom, of redemption from us to experience. Okay? So when we feel the pain of a plague, who feels that pain? Our soul or our body? The body. And if you associate with the body, with selfishness, with materialism, it's aching. What can we do? If you see it as you and it's being bitten up, you feel the pain. If you can associate with the soul, the more you associate with the soul, you see the body being plagued, and okay, it's time already. You give, you let go. Okay? But again, we said something in Parashat Shemot about the names, that these names that the Torah is talking about during the whole process of redemption from slavery till Mount Sinai and the freedom of Mount Sinai, all of this process was through revelation of light through the names of God, which means our study, meditation, focusing on these names will help us to follow the road of ascension to redemption. Okay? So that's the only way we can understand what is said over there. And it says like this. I'm going back to what I read in the beginning. The Parashat VaEra, the book of Exodus, chapter 6, verse 2. Vaidaber Elohim el Moshe. And Elohim, what is Elohim? You study Kabbalah. Elohim is Midat Adin, judgment. When a person experiences God's providence as judgment, it's called the name of Elohim. Vayomer elav, Ani Hashem. And he says, I am Hashem, Youdkevitch, the Tetragrammaton. What does it mean? You feel judgment, but you don't understand. I'm doing it out of love. A doctor, a surgeon that really cares for me, and he cuts me. He cuts into me because he wants to take out something that is really dangerous to my health. He doesn't do it because he's my enemy. He does it out of love. So is it Elohim or Youdkevitch? Of course it's Youdkevitch. It is Rachamim. It's out of love, care, and the desire to help. Okay? So how do I experience God's intervention in my life? Do I see it as Adonai, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, judgment? Do I see it as Elohim, another aspect of judgment? Do I see it as that's how it says over here, it's teaching us how to understand what we are going through in the procedure from on that scale from negative, being a slave in Egypt, associate myself with Egypt, with Pharaoh, and even realize I'm an Egyptian. That's the way I should be. So I'm participating in the slavery. So how do I get redeemed? First of all, I need to realize that I'm associating with the wrong side. If it doesn't ache, if it's not painful, I will never let go of my bodily desires and my selfishness. That's how it starts. Okay? So now, but there's a deeper way, brilliant to understand it. And these are the, I'm going to read now from the Orach HaChaim HaKadosh. Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar, one of the greatest Kabbalists in the 17th century, born in Morocco, became a great Kabbalist over there, but the end of his life, like many Kabbalists during the last few centuries, he did in Jerusalem, Israel. Okay, and he's buried in Mount Olives, just in front of the Temple Mount. His commentary, his most important work was Or HaChaim, the light of life, and that's how he's being called. Not Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar, that's his name. Everybody calls him Or HaChaim, the light of life, because that is commentary on the Torah. And he says those amazing, sweet words. What does he say? Oh, here it is. Okay. But it looks like God is kind of upset with Moses, that how come Moses, God's messenger, has a complaint to God? Why? He doesn't understand what we just said. Again, this is, remember, all of those stories are not history. It's about giving us the hints of the direction we should take in our own journey every day. Okay? Since Moses spoke to God in a way that it's not moral to speak like this to God, in front of a king, great king, you don't speak like this. Nobody allows himself to come to a great king and say, how did you do this and why did you do it? It's like, is this respectful? It's like that sentence. ודבר זה נמשך לצד שהראה לו פנים צוחקות, פנים שמחות. But what was God's reaction? God was like, how do you talk to me? But he shows Moses happy face. How do we know? Because it says, I am Youdkevitch. Okay? So he showed him both faces, the face of Elohim. You know, you can experience me, God, as Elohim, judgment. You can experience me as Youdkevitch. It's my love, my unconditional love to you. Okay? That's why it says, and Elohim spoke to Moses. Or ירצה, but there's another way. איך אתה מייחס למידה רעה? God is saying, how come you blame me for something evil, for the pain the Israelites are going through? It's not, I didn't do that. ואתה אומר אליי, למה הרעות? Why did you tell me? How did you bring evil to Am Yisrael? That's in chapter 5, verse 22. Alon Yeshem, I'm Youdkevitch. I'm all love. Midati, midat chesed v'rachamim. I'm coming only from chesed, loving kindness, and mercy. V'tov ani lakol. And I'm good for everyone. Read Psalm 145, verse 9. Kmo chen shamar hanavi, and the prophet Jeremiah said in the book of Lamentation, chapter 3, verse 38, ומפי עליון לא תצא הרעות. From the divine, evil cannot come. So where is it coming from? Only from us. כי אם הטובות, only the good come from above, from the divine. ומה שאמר שם והטוב, הוא על בחינת פרט טוב אחד, שהוא להיות אדם צדיק. לא יגזור שם דבר כן, אלא ביד כל אדם לבחור בטוב. If a person is righteous, of course God is not going to hurt him. But the person, every human being must take responsibility for his choices. Okay? ביד כל אדם לבחור בטוב, and every human being must acknowledge that it's his choice to choose the good. What do I mean to choose the good? Number one, but I did the right thing. What were you thinking? Did you do it out of guilt? Did you do it out of fear? Did you do it out of desire to appease someone, that you just did it good just because you were so much afraid and you're doing a bribe? Are you bribing another person? Are you bribing God? What was your consciousness at that time? Okay? Choosing good means choosing the good aspiration, thinking, choosing that aspect to connect to, which is positivity, loving, and kindness. That's choosing good. So a lot of times we find ourselves doing good, but if I look inside, where was my heart at that time? And if I did not make a change of heart, so what if my action was, it looked okay, but I'm still a slave to Pharaoh. I'm doing it out of fear, out of pain. And if you're doing it because of it, you think you're okay, you have a big problem. Because it's not just what you do. You should do the right thing, but it's also what you feel, what you think. Okay? And there are people that believe that God is watching them and is very vindictive. So who are they worshiping? They're worshiping Pharaoh. They are Pharaoh's slave. They're worshiping the Lord of darkness. They're not worshiping the real God that created the heaven and the earth. They're not worshiping the Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're worshiping an idol. Okay? People who believe in all kinds of idol worshiping, didn't they do good stuff? Charity, saving the poor and stuff like this? Yes, out of fear. Because they believe that the gods will be appeased if they behave in a certain way. Okay? That's idol worshiping. Because if you believe in your heart that God is vindictive, that God is making you feel pain because he's angry about you, you're still a slave. That's very important. You're not monotheist. You don't have faith in the Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You're not connecting to the creator of the heaven and the earth. You're not connecting to the God that revealed to the Israelites on Mount Sinai. You're connected to a self-made idol that basically is Pharaoh and Egypt and all the host of the gods, which are human negative traits, that we turn them into idols, thinking that if we're going to appease those idols, our life are going to be better. Didn't work. So every person must take upon himself the responsibility that I need to choose good, which means to choose to believe that whatever hurt that I experience or see on others, it's not from God. So where is it from? ותמצא שבכל פעם שיזכיר השם זיכרון תשלום הרע לעושה רשע, and you'll find that every time along the Tanakh, all the holy books, when God reminds the whole concept of payment for whoever is doing evil, ידקדק לומר, he will really be precise about saying, כי מרשעים יצא רשע. The evil will come out of the wicked. וכן הוא אומר, תייסרך רעתך. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 19. Your evil will torture you, which means who's torturing the bad people? Who's torturing us when we let ourselves surrender to evil? Is God torturing us? No, it's not. It's our own negativity that tortures us. How? The moment it disconnects us from the source of life, from the flow of light, that's the agony. Subjugation to evil thinking, evil nature, either evil attributes, that creates the pain, not God. It's the absence of God that creates the pain. And you see the same thing in Isaiah 64, verse 6, which means, who will torture us? Our sins. The book of Job, chapter 8, verse 4. Who sends us? Sends people into a torturous direction, their own sins and crimes. But not the good. Hashem iten atov. Psalms 85, 13. God is giving what is good. Tov Hashem lakol. God is good for everyone. Psalms 145, 9. ומעתה, from now on, לא יהיה שעברה צרה לישראל, מי יודע אם היו חייבים כדבעונם גם, which means, the whole story is about teaching us. The whole story of redemption is us learning to worship the real, true God. It's not someone who changes his mind. Once he likes me, once he doesn't like me. You know, oh, I deserve it. No, it's not that I did. It's God never changes his mind. Ani Hashem lo shaniti. That's in the Malachi. Okay? I'm God, I never change. God never changes his promises. He never changes his nature. He is endless, and the moment he changes, it's not endless. So it's an oxymoron. God changed his mind. So what was changed? Our perception of God. So do you want to experience God differently? Change your perception. Redemption and perception has to go hand in hand. The levels of perception that need to be changed about accepting whatever we go through, as that's the journey. Even the pain of withdrawal is a good pain. Why? You know, I did so much evil to myself and to others, and now I want, because, oh, I changed my mind, I want everything to be okay. No, there must be a payment. Otherwise, you know, easy comes, easy goes. That's why God created this world of challenges for us. So when we arrive to total enlightenment, is because we have ownership on it. We achieved it. We overcame pain. How? When we experience pain and it's okay. What does it mean? If that's the payment that I have to go through, it's okay. I'm not upset. I'm not negative. I'm not hateful. I'm not angry. I'm simply knowing that that is the way to redemption. The Israelites, as if you read the Haggadah, Passover Haggadah, there's a whole discussion. How many of the Israelites left Egypt? Some say only 20%. V'chamushim yatzu bnei Israel v'Mitzrayim. What does it mean? 80% sided with the Egyptians. 80% either were destroyed by the plagues or decided to stay in the comfortable place of Egypt instead of going to the desert. Going to the desert, are you nuts? Do you have a business plan? Who's your catering provider? No, we're not going to Egypt, leaving Egypt. You know, that's a safe place, first world country. Oh yeah? What's the concept? Was that 20%? There's an argument, but it doesn't matter. It means it's not that the Jews, that time Israelites, they had it easy and nice and comfortable, and the Egyptians suffered. No, it's the fight inside us. There's the Israelites inside us, which is the powers of the soul, and the Egyptians and Pharaoh inside us, which are the forces of the darkness, the negativity. And nobody can say, I'm perfect. So as long as you don't see the war happening inside you, the 10 plagues, the discussion between Moses and Pharaoh, between Moses and God, if you don't see that happening inside you, you're just watching it from the side and you start to criticize. You don't realize what's going on over here. And then comes the next few verses that are some of the most powerful verses in the whole Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, in the Torah, the prophets, and the other writings. And it says like this, we are just in the book of Exodus chapter 6, and we just started. Chapter 6, verse 6, Lechem, Emor livnei Israel, tell the children of Israel, Ani Hashem, I am Youdkevitch, which means, who are you talking to? Who you have to focus on? That power of love, kindness, mercy. What does it mean, mercy? He loves me even though I'm not worthy of it. Yeah, I'm not worthy of it. This is a very cultish thing. You're not worthy of it. Every human being is worthy of the love of God. Every human being, no matter what they did. The question is, how can you experience that love? If you are busy with your selfishness and with your body, materialistic state of mind, you can't feel that love. If that love penetrates in, you feel it as the bat feels sunlight. It's aching. Okay? How many times you approach somebody with a lot of love, authentic, real, true love? For them, it hurts. They see it as trying to maneuver you, manipulate you. They hate you for that because they can't get it, because they're so full of anger and selfishness, they can't really think that somebody really wants to help you. So for them, it is torture when you really love them. Lachen emor livnei Israel, I am Ani Hashem. Tell the Israelites, I am Youdkevitch. I am love. I am mercy. והוצאתי אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים. I will take you out of the suffering of Egypt. והצלתי אתכם מעבודתם, and I will save you from their slavery. וגאלתי אתכם בזרוע נטויה ובשפטים גדולים, and I will redeem you. ולקחתי אתכם לי לעם, and I will take you to be my nation. והייתי לכם לאלוהים. I will be your Elohim. Why Elohim? Judgment. וידעתם, and you will know. Knowing is connecting. כי אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, המוציא אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים. And you would know that I'm Youdkevitch, your Elohim, that takes you out from the burden of Egypt. What is the Zohar saying about it? Very powerful words. The Zohar is saying it as follows. That's Zohar HaSulam, verse 55. Vidatem, where it says, and you will know that I am Youdkevitch, your God. It's not just a promise, says the Zohar. This is a mitzvah. It's a precept. It's the first mitzvah. Mitzvah is an action that connects you to the light of God in this physical world. There are 613 mitzvot in the Torah, right? But this says the Zohar is the first of them all. ההתחלה הראשונה של כל המצוות, the beginning of all the mitzvot, is to know God בבחינת כלל, in the sense of klal. Klal means general, all-inclusive law. Klal comes from kolel, inclusive. General rule, but inclusive rule. Shoel ma'u klal. So he's asking, what does it mean, klal? Umeshiv, and he answers, Ladat sheyesh moshel elyon. The first general rule is to know there is a ruler, a divine ruler above everything. Shu Adon ha'olam, that he is the master of the universe. Uvara kol ha'olam, he created all the worlds. Shamayim v'aretz v'chol tzva'am, the heaven, the earth, and all their hosts. V'zeu klal, which means, who created everything? The God of love, light, and patience. Okay, mercy. That loves every creature, every part of the creation unconditionally. That's a general rule. If you do not know, connect to that rule, you didn't start the journey yet. A lot of us need to work on that. All of us need to work on that because, you know, if I know that and I'm really connected to that with all my might, every cell in my body, can I get upset about someone or something? Can I be aggravated because something happened that I don't like? The moment I know that whoever created everything is a loving God, endless force of love that loves everyone unconditionally and everything, and he's behind everything, the creation, everything is included in him. Can I be upset about history? About something that happened to me, to somebody I love? I can't. I don't know how, but it's all for the good. That's the first principle. Most of our pain and misery and feeling of disconnection and darkness is because we are not applying, we're not fighting, you have to fight for it, for that level of consciousness. And that is the first condition for redemption. What we're reading is called in the Passover Haggadah, the Leshonot Geula. These are the expressions of redemption. Ve'hotzeti v'lakar, I will take you out, I will take you and so on, but it's completed by what? Vidatem, and you will know Shashem Elokim. What does it mean? Elokim is judgment. You will know that even though you experience judgment, it's also for your own good. There's no place to be annoyed, to complain, to feel like a victim. We learn it about when we spoke about Joseph. Without that concept, Joseph will never be able to make it to be the king of, to the throne. Why? If he would be upset all the time and angry about every step, the brothers that betrayed him, that they almost killed him, throwing him to the pit with snakes and scorpions, and so on, the whole story, you know the drill. If he was busy being a victim or being annoyed, God, how could you do this to me? He would not become the winner that sat on the throne of Pharaoh and ran from that day on for many decades, the biggest empire in the world, and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay? You want to be Joseph? You have a Joseph inside you. You have to follow that trait. And that's why when the brothers ask, forgive us, he says, why should I be angry about it? You had a bad intention, but God made it good. Okay, it came out right. So I have nothing against you. You just served the big, grand plan properly. If you didn't do it, somebody else will do it. Why did you do that? And how? That's your own issue. None of my problem. It's yours, it's not mine. Okay, but that's in the general rule, klal. But there's also prat. Prat in Hebrew. Oh, in English it's the same word, particular. Prat, particular. To lefrot means to cut everything into little tiny pieces. Okay, lefaret. into details. God is also in the details, in the particular, prat. Klal ufrat הוא ראש וסוף. Klal, the general, prat, the particular, the head, the beginning, and end, the completion. You know, a fool would not, or uneducated person would not see that the tail of an elephant and the husks or the other side of the elephant are part of the same creature and the same purpose that runs them. Same thing in the big picture. Everything in the creation, the general power that runs the galaxies, the planets, the weather, the continents, history, is the same force that you can see working through every little creature, every cell of every body, every atom, and every particular little particle. Okay, all of it, it's all one. But the way to see it is Hashem, the big, powerful ruler of the world that has a good intention in the creation, and he will make sure it's all going that way. And Elohim. Elohim is judgment. But Elohim also in Gematria, Elohim is Gematria Hateva, the nature. Whatever we see in this nature, it also leads to the same place. Although if you look at the little details, you won't understand it many times. Why? Because, as we said before, you smoke cigarettes, it will hurt you. These are the laws of nature. How could God create a nature that will hurt you? Yeah, but the purpose of nature and the creation that we experience is not that everything will be comfortable all the time. The purpose of nature is that we learn that there are rules. And when we start to realize there are rules in particular in every aspect that we do, and the more science we know, we realize how the rules are so sophisticated, articulated, programmed. And through looking at the rules, you start to realize there's a general power that runs it all from the little details. When you can see the connection, the combination between Hashem, the big ruler of the universe, and Elohim, the little rules of nature that control every atom. When you connect the head and the tail, the beginning and the end, the thought and the end of the process, that is when you realize that you've been there in that place that is called redemption. And that's where we should contemplate, meditate all our lives. Hashem hu Elohim. That's how we finish Yom Kippur, by the whole congregation repeating 7 times after the Chazan, Hashem hu Elohim, Hashem Elohim. What does it mean? That from now on, I'm in that place that can see God in the big creation and in the little details. So there's no place for being annoyed, upset, bitter, just understanding these are the rules and we follow the rules. The more we learn them, we go up the scale and we finally find redemption. Thank you so much.